Hey everyone, it's 10 Types, and today I'm going to be talking about a bunch of decks that were played in Japan and won City League tournaments. Most of them are new decks except for this first one, so I'm going to talk about real briefly. But yeah, there's a bunch of different decks that play the new cards from Twilight Masquerade. They're really interesting. But first of all, I want to say this is a Spath of Azadu with Scissor. This is actually the exact list I feature on my channel. I got it from Limitless or from Play Limitless, but this is Limitless. I will leave the link down below. It's not a new deck, but I wanted to show you that people do play it and it does work. It's not played that much, but it is played some. And yes, the link will be down below in the description to this list. This is, as I said, the exact 60, I believe, that I played. And this is probably where it was originally from. I got it. I got it from Play Limitless, but this is regular Limitless and or limitlesstcg.com. This is the website. It has I'll actually show you. So you could go to limitlesstc. Oh, there's a lot of tournaments. Limitlesstcg.com. Then you click on tournaments, and then you look at city leagues. Then you can scroll down and see a bunch of these. And then you can click on the tournament and see the top 16 out of presumably 64 people. It could be a little smaller, but I think most of them are 64 people. Yeah. So, and it's pretty interesting. And most of the data is complete. If you look at this tournament, the first place player doesn't have a deck list for whatever reason, but probably like 99% of the data is complete. This is the only example I've seen where they haven't had a person, I think. But yeah, anyway, so this is a list that it's not really that new. It was played on the 20th of March. So yeah, not super new, but it is a list that, as I said, did win a tournament, a pretty like a sizable tournament, and is a deck that some people were asking me about, like how it works with this Spathra EX and like Scissor. You just play a few metal energies. And you can search them out. It's pretty fun. It's a deck I'd recommend you try. But anyways, let's get into the regular cards and regular decks. With the new cards. This one is a Palkia V-Star list. This one's also not that crazy. We do see the new Blood Moon Ursaluna EX. This card's so insane. It's probably, in my opinion, I think it might be the best card from the set. I'm doing my rankings, still putting that together, but it's really good. And its ability says this Pokemon's Blood Moon attack, which is the attack it has, costs one colorless less for each prize card your opponent's taken. Same thing as Radiant Charizard, essentially. And then Blood Moon does for 5 colorless to 40 and can attack next turn. But obviously, this will get cheaper with like as the game goes on. And it is colorless. It's really good. It can be played in any deck. I don't know if it's played in the other decks we're looking at, but it is really good. Um, hits really good damage, and then yeah, just super easy to power up. In this deck, it's kind of interesting. It's Palkia V-Star with Iron Valiant EX, and we even see Bombardier EX, a card that sets you up. Doesn't have a hit and run, but mostly sets you up. It's a kind of fun card. But this list looked kind of interesting. It kind of caught me off guard. It was not what I was expecting to see. And as I said, won a tournament. It was played a few times by some different people. It's a pretty cool deck. Nothing game breaking. We've seen stuff like this in the past, but we haven't seen it in a little while, or at least I haven't seen it in a little while. Um, we see 8 switch with Iron Valiant EX. When it switches into the active, you do 20 damage wherever you want. And then you have tools. It's a lot of tools, which is kind of cool. I mean, 5, that's not absurdly high, but it's higher than kind of normal or around normal, and it doesn't run 4 Iron, so that's neat. Articuno paralyzes. You just have some interesting things, in my opinion. You can Radiant Greninja, you can Chimpow EX. It's a Palkia V-Star deck. And right now, Palkia V-Star is being played some, notably in Goldengo, and sometimes in Raging Bolt. I don't think that deck's super good, but it is a deck. And it's being played sometimes with Chimpow. There are some different ways to play it, but a lot of it's Goldengo. But I do think that the Palkia V-Star is a pretty cool Pokemon that hasn't seen play recently. For a while it was overplayed, but now it's not played very much. But it's still pretty solid. But next up, we got another Palkia V-Star deck focused around Blissy EX. Blissy EX is one of the cards I'm most excited for from the new set. It's kind of weird. It has a lot of pretty solid things it can do. Its ability, well, first of all, it's a Stage 1 EX with 300 HP, which is quite high. Kind of like Blood Moon Ursa Luna, which has 260 on a basic, but this is still very good, very tanky. It does have 4 retreat though, so we do see the list. Oh, it doesn't actually run any switch, but it runs Professor Toad's scenario. and Sharon's Care as like switch kind of. And then Blissy EX, its attack does 180 for 3 colorless, and you can draw until you have 6 in hand. Kind of nice, decent damage, decent draw, but not insane. And then Happy Switch, your ability, which is pretty good. You can use this once during your turn, but for each Blissey you have, you can move basic from one of your Pokemon to another one of your Pokemon. The list runs some double turbo energies, but also a lot of basic energies. You can get water energies into play, of course, with Palkia V-Star. You can attack with Palkia V-Star. You can move the energy around. Palkia V-Star decks oftentimes have a few different attackers, including Radiant Greninja, but then you have energy stranded in weird places, so you want to move it around. And then we have the Darkness Energy Monkey Dory combo with Blissey EX. This is probably one of my favorite combos in the new set. It's kind of weird, but its ability Monkey Dory's Adrenabrain and the ability names and attack names might not be finalized. I don't remember, but the effect is. And so once during your turn, if this Pokemon has a Darkness Energy attached to it, which can be a basic, it doesn't have to be, so you could see that, but Blissey EX only moves basic energies, so we have seen. We'll take a look at Monkey Dory later, I believe, but it's pretty cool. And so you can move up to 3 damage counters from one of your Pokemon to one of your opponent's Pokemon. That's pretty okay healing for you. Not amazing, but it's all right. And then 3 extra damage counters is nice. We're looking at Iron Valiant EX, which is 2 extra damage counters. Monkey Dory is 3, which is obviously more, assuming you are damaged and not knocked out. You don't have a way to damage yourself, but still pretty interesting here. And Monkey Dory is one of my favorite cards as well. Blissey EX Monkey Dory, really cool. Outside of that, most of the other cards aren't new, but we do see it. There's kind of an interesting flow to it. And then we do see Handy Fan. Yeah, that's how it's translated. What is Handy Fan? I don't know what a Handy Fan is, but apparently it's that. And so if the active Pokemon is a tool, if the active Pokemon this card is attached to is damaged from an attack, movement energy from the attacking Pokemon, your opponent's active, um, to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. I just realized. So this is the attacking Pokemon, which could be Alakazam EX. So I don't know if you can choose to essentially fail this by moving an energy from Alakazam EX on the bench to the same Alakazam EX on the bench. Yeah, that's really weird. That it's like, but anyway, that's a weird ruling. Probably doesn't ever come into play, but pretty nice as like a disruptive card and kind of interesting to see it here. We see Lost City. We see a bunch of healing as well. Sharon's Care, scooping up a damaged colorless Pokemon, and so you can completely heal up the colorless Pokemon, but make sure you move the damage off with Monkey Dory first. And of course, Monkey Dory doesn't really attack. It can actually in this list. What's its attack? 16 confusion. Actually, not complete garbage. It's all right. But then you can have the energy on it, the darkness energy, and then if you need to attack, you can move the energy to Blissey EX to actually attack with. You can move it off and then back on using Blissey EX every single turn, so that's pretty interesting and powerful. You can attack with Mew EX as well, and Radiant Greninja. Those are 2 obviously good support Pokemon that allow you to draw cards with their abilities. And then they also allow you to, they can like attack. They're pretty decent attackers, pretty good attackers, but a little awkward because they are 3 energy each. But you can go ahead and use their attacks, and you can move energy around with Blissey. As I said, energy acceleration is only Palkia V-Star, but that's not like, you can use that once, and you can manually attach. Blissey EX is 2 energy if it is a double turbo as well. And also you have 300 HP, and then we have Hero's Cape as the ace back, giving you 400 HP, which is really high and pretty interesting. Obviously, there's Lost Vacuum. There's also the new, I believe, Jamming Tower is the card. It is a stadium that turns off tools, and that's pretty good. I think that Jamming Tower is like all right. The fact that it gets countered is annoying, but the card is really good. Hero's Cape. As you like 400 HP is essentially impossible to one shot. There are ways. This list does not run Mist Energy to avoid instant KOs from Pokemon that do instant knockouts like Roaring Moon EX or Giratina V-Star. I guess it's those 2. But yeah, so you have Disruption as well. This is an interesting deck. I think I'll play it. I don't know if I'll play this list, but I definitely want to play Blissey with Monkey Dory. Mew EX is really good, and you just have a lot of really interesting options with the deck because you can move energy around. It's not a ton of energy movement. It's not the same level as like Bronzong or Aromatisse or Was it Kling Klang? I don't know. There have been some different Pokemon that move energy around. Also Armor Rouge, which we may take a look at later. Not necessarily the same as Blissey, but similar, and I think it's pretty neat. And then you have lots of Blissies, and you can get value by getting more into play, which is pretty cool. Next up, we got ourselves the Armarouge list here. With Monkey Dory, again, we have Monkey Dory, just one this time, and Armarouge, which moves energy from our bench to the active. Fire energy, but Luminous energy is both, well, it's any type, all types of energy, including Fire or Psychic. So Fire for Armarouge and Fire and Psychic both pay Dragapult EX's attack cost, which is the main attacker here. And then we have the Monkey Dory, so we can essentially heal off our Pokemon. We can move damage around on our opponent's side of the board with the Radiant Alakazam and Dragapult EX. One, this card's super good. I think it's a little I was saying overhyped. I don't know. I feel like it's going to be overplayed. I do think it's a good deck, but I think it is also going to be the most played deck from the set. Not, and I don't know if it's deserving of that. It's very good. Um, but I think it might be a little overplayed. We'll see. We'll see how much hype builds up before the card comes out. But it's still a really cool card. One I am looking forward to playing with some. Its attack is a little sketchy in terms of attack cost, though. It is a Dragon type Stage 2 EX. Its attack is Fire Psychic. 200 to your opponent's active, 60 or 6 damage counters on your opponent's bench in any way you like. So this cannot be shut down by Manaphy, cannot be shut down by Jirachi, and it can be stopped by Rellor, though. I think Rellor could be really nice. I'm going to pull up Rellor, but it will stop this. No, Rabsca. I always say the wrong one. But when I talk about it, I mean Rabsca. Um, Let me take a look at Japanese tournaments. And yes, so they are putting it in sometimes, not always though. What Rillaboom? Sorry, I just like opened a random deck. What? Okay. So that's not actually that crazy. But yeah, it is seeing some play as it does protect your bench, and it's a pretty good card. It's not that good, but it does stop Dragapult and is essentially the only way. Someone I said like Rabsca is the only way. You do have Mist Energy. Mist Energy is like all right. It stops both Rabsca and Mist Energy stop effects of attacks, but Mist Energy in Japan is probably seeing some more play. It is. It's seeing a lot of play in Lugia though, because it's an easy tech, and it is seeing play in like other stuff. Arceus, Blissey here we got. It is seeing play, but in Blissey, but the tanky deck, and Charizard a tanky deck, and Lugia arguably a tanky deck, but also needs special energy. But anyways, Dragapult will be countered some as well. I think it'll be super highly played and super highly countered to the extent that it can, but it's pretty good. And then obviously 6 damage counters is not enough to one-shot everything on the bench. We look at something like a Manaphy or Dreepy or Tatsugiri or Charcadet, right? In this list, Klefki as well. They all have 70 HP, and then there are lots of other Pokemon. There's Charmander. There was a 70 HP Charmander. There's a 60 HP one though that sees play. There is a Frigibax. There's a Barrel, or sorry, a Bidoof. Not the most commonly played one, but there is a Bidoof that has 70 HP. There are just a lot of basics with 70 HP. It's really common. So you could run various things. This list runs Radiant Alakazam to move damage around, as well as TM Devolution. I think the other list. Oh yeah, this Palkia listed, but TM Devolution it devolves your opponent's Pokemon, and then we also see the Luminous Energy to move the energy around. We see Mela to accelerate. We're really good with Armor Rouge, although the only attacker here is definitely going to be Dragapult EX. You could attack with Monkey Dory, probably not good. You could attack with Radiant Alakazam, which is okay, 20 for each card in your opponent's hand. And Radiant Alakazam moves 2 damage from one of your opponent's Pokemon to another one of their Pokemon, versus Monkey Dory, which is 3 damage from one. I believe it's to one of your Pokemon. Yeah, to one of your opponent's Pokemon. And so you can move damage around a lot with those, which is really interesting. So you can kind of control the game a little more in terms of the damage flow. Speaking of control, we do see Enhanced Hammer. TM Devolution is sometimes used for control. Iono for disruption, and then we do see a Secret Box. This is probably my favorite ace spec from the new set. I think it's pretty close in power level to Unfair Stamp. Um, I think that's in some of the other lists. It might be, or one of the other lists. I don't remember, but Secret Box is really interesting. It's actually pretty similar to Computer Search, and it has seen some play in Japan, although not the same level. It hasn't gotten the same level of hype as Unfair Stamp. Also, it hasn't been out as long as Unfair Stamp in Japan. Um, but it's really good. You discard 3 cards from your hand, but search your deck for an item, tool, supporter, and stadium, and put them into your hand. This is really good because obviously most decks, I mean every deck wants an item and a supporter, and then a stadium and a tool are both pretty nice, although it does depend on the list. So as we'll see, if you are playing this, you need to make sure that you have, I almost said stools and stadiums. No, tools and stadiums. We see rescue board, the 2 TMs, and then magma basin, 2 copies of that. And so you do have access to value off of the tool in the stadium, which is really important for a secret box and is one of the potentially detrimental reasons for it. But you can search out Arda Zone. I'm probably going to talk about this card more in my top 10 cards from the set, but it's pretty interesting. Has a lot of depth, I guess, but in some sense also it's relatively simple to play. You just play it and get what you need for the turn. It's essentially a supporter, a setup-based supporter, but it's an item, which is kind of like how computer search worked. Um, Outside of that, pretty cool deck. I think Dragon Bolt's going to be really good. I think most people think it's going to be really good, and I'm looking forward to seeing it in the game. I'm kind of scared because it is not going to be so fun to play against with single prizes, which is like every deck in the entire game, because like literally Dragon Bolt evolves from a single prizer. So I feel like the matchups might be very volatile in that deck, but time will tell. Oh, and it runs the new Tatsugiri. This card's really good, attracting customers. You can use this ability once during your turn if you're in the active. Look at the top 6 cards of your deck, put a supporter you find there into your hand, shuffle the other cards back into your deck. This is really good because it allows you to just like get supporters, which is really nice. You see a few different supporters in the list, but not a ton. You want some consistency, so you need higher counts of those like draw/consistency supporters with 3 Iono, 3 Arven, 1 Research, a Mela, which is also like a draw supporter. Interestingly, only 1 boss and then a counter catcher, but yeah, some pretty cool stuff going on in this list that I really like. Not too out there, but it is a little different than some things we've seen. No Zadu, Armouge instead. Kind of cool. Yeah, I could like talk more about this list. You could put a gouging fire, which could be like interesting, but overall, I think Dragapult's cool and it's going to have a ton of ways to play it. I've talked about it a lot previously, and a lot of people have as well. But I figure it is worth mentioning because I'm not forgetting about it. I know it is on the horizon, and I think it's looking pretty cool. Next up, we have Greninja EX, the other stage 2. This one initially got more hype. It is not as good as Dragapult, probably, but it is really good. Ninja Blade, for 1 water, you do 170. Search your deck for card it and put into your hand, then shuffle your deck. It is fighting type, but uses water energy, which is good, I guess. I don't know if it's actually good, but it's fine. It's like about as good as using fighting energy. I guess better because if you run, like we see water, like Manaphy uses water energy, so I guess it's better. But and then you have duplicates, barrage, water, colorless. Discard 2 energy from this Pokemon. It does 120 to 2 hit points bench Pokemon. Keep in mind if you do have if you have double turbo energy attached, then you discard it, but you still do 100 damage to 2 your opponent's Pokemon. This is because of damage calculation stuff. It's a little weird and confusing, but long story short, you calculate damage before you actually like do stuff, which is kind of weird, but it is how it works. Meaning that Greninja EX is actually going to be doing 100 if you have double turbo, which we do see in this list, which is a little bit unfortunate for this card. Um, because obviously you're not going to be doing, you want to be doing 120. 100 is enough. We said 60 was like solid, 70 was nice. But so 100 will be enough to knock out a lot of supporting basics. But if you're looking at Pokemon, if you're looking at Barrel most notably, although I guess Cramorant as well, you will not be one-shotting that on the bench or in the active with the second attack with the double turbo, but without it you can. Also, searching for any card every turn is pretty interesting as it allows you to set up. Also, we see 4 Irida on the list, which is kind of funny because it does not grab your Greninja EX because, Greninja is obviously a fighting Pokemon. And then we see some other interesting things. We see Force Seal Stone. We do see this other ace spec. I did not look at these lists too much before starting this recording video, but Hyper Aroma, I think this card's bad. I'm going to be completely honest, but it's interesting to see it here. It is an item that lets you search for 3 stage 1 Pokemon, put them into your hand. We, of course, see Frogadier played in the list, but then we see Frostlass, which we'll talk about in just a moment. I'm surprised to see Hyper Aroma. Honestly, I would think that Master Ball would honestly be a little better. I don't know if I'd think would be better, but Master Ball also isn't the best ace spec. I feel like Prime Catcher is really good and Unfair Stamp is really good for general use. And then you could even I could see Secret Box, especially with the list playing Force Seal Stone, and obviously needing stuff to set up a stage two. You only run two rare candies and no team evolution, which is kind of interesting, but it is a slower deck, and we're going to talk about that now. In Professor Terra's scenario, to scoop up your Pokemon, which is important. As I said, Hyperoma getting three stage ones, most of which are going to be Frostlass. This is potentially my favorite card from the set as well. I think Blissy EX, Monkey Dory, or Frostlass are my favorites, and you could even play them all together. But this is so cool. Chilling Curtain. During Pokemon Checkup, put one damage counter on each Pokemon in play that has any abilities, excluding any Frostlass. But this means that if your opponent is playing, say, Lost Zone, and then you pass, um, and then they like attack, then you pass again, you've all of a sudden knocked out all their comfies. So of course there is like switch card and stuff, and that's kind of weird. It's not. It's like it's kind of weird to that situation won't actually happen. And this is if you have like three Frostlasses because they stack. But obviously you want to get as many as you can. Three probably with Hyper Aroma, and you just want to go ahead and do that. Evolve all your Frostlasses. You could even run four. Then you have Pokemon without abilities. Of course, Manaphy may get knocked out, which is not so good, but you want to be careful of that. And same with Hawlucha, Rotom, and V. Um, those do have abilities, so any deck you play Frostlass, you need to be careful about damaging yourself, but it is still really, really interesting. And then we do see Cleffa as well, which is an attacking option that does not, well, it doesn't do damage, but it doesn't have an ability, so it won't get knocked out, just like Elekid sometimes played in Frostlass. But this is really interesting because it just does damage as an ability, which is really good. We're talking about Monkey Dory being good, and we're talking about Iron Valiant EX being good. And Frostlass, it actually does damage, and you don't need to play anything. You literally just sit there, and it does damage, which is really, really powerful because, I mean, dealing damage is important, and you can kind of hide behind something else. But if that thing you're hiding behind has an ability, you're going to be damaging yourself. So some really interesting interactions there, and like game dynamics. But I think the deck is really cool. Like Greninja Frostlass has been played actually a decent amount. If we look here, it has been the main way to play Frostlass. As I said, it could be used with Blissy EX and Monkey Dory Frostlass, really cool looking deck. You could run it in Dragapult EX as well. Of course, Drakelook has an ability, and we see Rotom V that also has an ability. So that's kind of scary, but yeah, it's a really cool Pokemon. We can see lists like this running four Frostlass, even a Frostlass EX, pretty neat. And some lists being like Frostlass and Monkey Dory with like Mawile and stuff. So some pretty cool stuff going on here. Probably, as I said, one of my favorite cards. I'm not sure which of these is my favorite, but still really cool. Lastly, however, we have a deck that's completely different. This is Raging Bolt EX. Of course, this deck is well, it's out. It's a deck. It's not the best deck, but it's not that bad, I guess. I think so Dragon Pokemon that are kind of like this often get lots of hype and are often bad. We saw Reshiram and Zekrom or Reshiram. And then we also saw because of VMAX, which is kind of like this, and they were both bad, not like complete trash, but they weren't particularly good. But this Raging Bolt EX, Bellwing Thunder, discard any amount of basic energy from your Pokemon. It does 70 for each card discarded in this way. Um, and so this for lightning fighting, so a little bit of an awkward energy cost here, but you can pay this with Professor Sada's Vitality. Sandy Shock's EX will also recover energy to it. But then we get to Teal Mask Ogerpon EX. This card's really weird. The Ogerpon deck is like a deck, but I'm gonna scroll through and look to see if I can find it. I think I missed. Oh, here we go. So like one person played it. There's an Ogerpon deck, but most people are playing the Ogerpons separately. With the Teal Mask one is so good, I guess. Its ability lets you accelerate a grass energy from a hand to it and then draw a card. And does have an attack that it'll one-shot Charizard because of weakness probably, but that's about all it does. But then you have turbo stuff with Squawkabilly EX, and then you have bug catching set. You see Prime Catcher as the ace spec. This is really interesting. Some kind of weird stuff going on here because Raging Bolt EX obviously does not use grass type energy, so you have all these energies that you can't use. for the Raging Ball. But then we have a bug catching set. Look at the top 7 cards of your deck, put 2 in any combination of grass Pokemon, which would be Ogerpon EXs, Teal Flame Mask, no, was it? Teal Mask Ogerpon EXs, and then basic grass energies you find there into your hand, shuffle the remaining cards back in. We see just some really, really weird stuff here, but I think it's a really, really fun deck. I guess, I mean, if you like Raging Bolt and you want to like a Turbo Raging Bolt, this is probably the way to go. It's really funny. I don't know how else you'd play it because, as I said, it's not the best. You could play like a traditional one. You could do it with Porygon Z. You know, I just opened a random deck, but yeah, you can do this Porygon Z Raging Bolt EX. I want to see someone try this out. You can like accelerate, and this seems so bad, but it seems funny. Um, yeah, it's a split between Ogerpon and Sandy Shocks. A lot of Sandy Shocks, though I don't think Ogerpon EX was out at this time. Um, but yeah, pretty interesting stuff going on here. But overall, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you didn't, consider liking and subscribing. That helps out the channel a ton. And I'm really excited for the new set. Also, by the way, at the time of me releasing this, I might be away. I'm not sure if I'll be away, um, or at least away from YouTube for like a week or so. So keep that in mind. Sorry if I won't be able to read all the comments during this time. I should be able to read them when I get back, but keep in mind I might not read them immediately. Um, or I might. Yeah, I don't really know. But I hope you enjoyed. If you did, as I said, like, subscribe, share, comment down below your thoughts as well, and any other decks that you're excited to see, because there's so many new decks. And as always, I'm excited to see you in the next video.